The U.S. Special Envoy Tim Linderking says that protecting the truce accomplishments is the real challenge for all parties. The Arab coalition has announced the release of first group of Houthi war prisoners as part of the truce implementation. For the first time in years, people in Hais celebrate Eid al-Fitr away from Houthi militia repressive machine. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Rana Sweda. The U.S. Special Envoy stated that there are some challenges to safeguard the accomplishments made by the truce. He also mentioned that building towards a durable ceasefire became difficult at this time. He further stated that there is a lot of responsibilities that goes on the Yemeni parties, and the U.S. is committed to continuing this effort in Yemen. The UN Humanitarian Coordinator has met with U.S. aid deputy to discuss the truce impacts on the humanitarian situation. They further discussed the need for donors to support Yemen at this crucial moment. They also urged donors to fill the funding gaps that have already led to life-saving aid cuts for millions of Yemenis. The Yemeni army said that the Houthi rebels have repeatedly breached the two-month truce. This included 113 ceasefire breaches in Ma'rib fronts, 69 west of Hadja, 65 near Taiz, and 43 in Al Jawf. They further stated that the Houthis attempted to infiltrate Yemeni forces' positions on various fronts. The suffering of Taiz residents has doubled as a result of the Houthi siege. The militia continues to violate the UN-mediated truce on a daily basis. The recent attack in Taiz has clearly shown that this rebel militia can never stick to any peace deal. This report has more details.
Overloaded trucks and cars packed with families ply narrow Pambi mountain roads surrounding this Yemeni city, long besieged by Houthi militia, evidence that the terms of a truce have yet to be met. Announced just over a month ago, the truce called for warring parties to reopen the main roads into Taiz, a city of roughly 600,000 people in Yemen's southwest that has been largely cut off from the world since 2015. So far, however, those roads remain closed, meaning truck drivers and ordinary civilians have no choice but to seek out dangerous alternative routes prone to accidents and seemingly endless traffic jams. In normal times, one such road, known as Al-Aqroud, should allow drivers to reach the village of Al-Hawban, east of Taiz, in just 15 minutes. But now, the trip can take up to 8 hours. People are tired, especially children and women. We wait in traffic jams for 3 or 4 hours because of the narrowness of the road, a truck driver said. These days, people only use the road once or twice a week to avoid a rough journey that is compounded by the wear and tear on vehicles as well as the rising price of fuel. The 2-month renewable truce began in early April, coinciding with the start of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. It has provided the country with a rare respite from violence. Less than a week after it took effect, Yemen's then President Hadi announced he was handing over power to a new 8-man leadership council, fueling cautious optimism over a long-term ceasefire. The truce has also seen oil tankers arriving at the port of Hodeidah, potentially easing fuel shortages in Sana'a and elsewhere. But a deal to resume commercial flights out of Sana'a airport for the first time in 6 years has yet to be materialized, with a planned inaugural flight in late April postponed indefinitely. Each side blames the other for the hold-up, and Taiz remains under siege, to the dismay of civil society organizations. Each day, civilian victims fall on rugged mountain roads, more than a dozen groups said in a joint statement in April. The horrifying scenes of vehicles and trucks falling apart with people and goods are unspeakable.
Saudi coalition released several Houthi prisoners as part of the truce. The Red Cross said a plane carrying Yemeni prisoners has arrived in southern city of Aden. The International Committee is facilitating the transfer of 100 prisoners back to Yemen on 3 flights. The UN envoy to Yemen, Hans Grunberg, has welcomed the release of Houthi detainees by the coalition. He further urged the Yemeni parties to agree on the details of the release so that Yemeni families may reunite as soon as possible. A number of citizens were killed and injured by Houthi militia bullets in Damar Governorate. Local sources said that a young man was killed and others were wounded by Houthi gunfire in Al-Hada district. Tribal sources said that the militia has also attacked a family and dropped them. The Houthi militia has prevented citizens from staying in Sana'a Park during Eid al-Fitr holiday. Local sources said the Houthi militia prevented dozens of families from hiking in Sana'a tourist area at Sanhan district. The sources added that the militia kept harassing citizens in parks, cafes and public gardens in Al-Sabin and Al-Thawra areas. For the first time in years, people in Hais district north of Hodeidah have been able to celebrate Eid al-Fitr away from Houthi militia repressive machine. The following report has more details.
In the south of Hodeidah Governorate, the people of Hais received the blessed Eid in an atmosphere of harmony and joy, especially after the completion of the liberation of the city's villages from the Houthi control, and the people gathered with their families after displacement and suffering that lasted for 4 years. Children of Hais are celebrating the feast in their own way, as each of them has his favorite and modest game, like the rest of their peers on Eid occasions.
We used to visit our families and friends after Eid prayer, and this Eid is better than the ones before. At least we are not worried about our children when they go outside.
A great joy and happiness in the hearts of the people have appeared in the occasion of the blessed Eid, in which this time came to them with stability and reunion, after many years of bombing and Houthi siege, so that the feast became a new joy for them and their children who were deprived of the most basic rights. People of Hais this year were blessed with 2 feasts, the first on the occasion of Eid and the other with the total liberation of their villages, which brought families together and included visits to relatives and acquaintances. And they received Eid with great joy after displacement and suffering.
We thank God this Eid is different, as our kids who were in the countryside couldn't come here and join us, but now all of us are gathered to celebrate the Holy Eid.
The comprehensive liberation has also encouraged the people to gather and do Eid prayer in the cemetery hall, as people were refrained from performing Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha prayers due to the Houthi targeting of the worshippers, located in the village of El-Sab'a and El-Ruba, which are the 2 prayer halls that gather all people of the countryside and the city.
This Eid had its own happiness and joy. It's way better than the other days. Firstly, we had the luxury to pray in the cemetery hall, which was exposed to burglary before, and we couldn't do that in the previous year because of the Houthi shelling.
Usually, with each Eid, the people of Hais receive it with sadness and pain as a result of the shells and bullets that rained down on the residents and killed hundreds of them. But today, there is joy and happiness in every home, and customs have begun to come alive again, and visits are exchanged among families, so that the 2 occasions have brought Haisi citizens into an atmosphere of harmony and joy.
The Houthi militia turns Eid holiday into a season of looting and exploitation of visitors in Aden. Local sources confirmed that the citizens had fallen victim to exploitation and greediness, with a number of exchange companies buying foreign currencies at a low price. They added that the exploitation widened to restaurants, tourist hotels, rest houses and public outlets, with the rise of 15% added to the services. Despite hardship and deplorable living conditions, people in Mukalla have celebrated Eid al-Fitr in a quite joyous atmosphere. Eid rituals such as exchanging visits among families and relatives and sitting by the beautiful beaches of the city have been maintained. This report has more on this story.
Celebrations erupt in the lands of ancient Hadramaut as Eid prayers and sermons commence. People head out to meet their relatives and friends with presents and blessings as amusement parks witness traffic by eager and excited children.
I went out with my family today. We hung out, celebrated and ate meals together. I also met up with some of my friends from school whom I haven't seen in a while, and we played together.
We went out during Eid with our kids and we had a lot of fun.
Every Eid day, Mukalla witnesses a festival full of dance, as folk and tradition blend in festive performances. Melodies ring from the lungs of sweet children, bringing joy to the faces and hearts of the attendees, young and old, men and women.
On the days of Eid, families visit their relatives and spend time at beaches and parks. Today, we celebrate the second day of Eid at Bakhamri Festival in Al-Mukalla. We spend time with our children and relatives, go on walks and enjoy our times.
Joyous ceremonies unravel over the course of Eid, and the Bakhmari festival arrives on Eid's second day, occurring only once annually and frequented by people from across all of Yemen's governorates. Bakhmari festival celebrates a type of ancient Hadrami popular food that is made of dough and served with milk or tea.
Coming next. The Arab Traffic Week 2022 proceedings launch in Taiz Governorate with intensive official and populace attendance.
احنا نزحنا للمخيم ذا قدام 3 سنوات ونزحنا من الحرب وقعت بيننا عندنا في القرية اشتباكات عنيفة. الأمان مش أمان الحرب، الأمان إنك معك بر في بيتك، معك مصروف، تكون مأمن نفسك داخل بيتك أنت وعيالك. الجوع خلانا نفكر كثير، ما يكون البر موجود وكل شيء موجود، ترقد وأنت آمن مرتاح. ما يكون ما فيش من أن ترقد.
Welcome back. The proceedings of the Arab Traffic Week have launched in Taiz with intensive official and populace attendance. The aim of the event is to raise the public awareness on the need to stick to traffic regulations, especially with the increased number of accidents recorded in recent years. This report has more details.
Under the slogan of Safe and Prosperous Traffic, Yemen celebrates the launch of the Arab Traffic Week 2022, which aims to create traffic awareness among the community by creating a public partnership between the traffic police and civil society organizations through the embodiment of traffic rules and guidelines to preserve human lives that are frighteningly created by traffic accidents.
ينتج عن عدم تدني مستوى التوعية المرورية وعدم الانضباط المروري.
Traffic accidents usually take place either because people don't respect traffic rules or they don't have a clear idea about it. More than 336 accidents have been recorded since the beginning of this year. These include 50 deaths, 345 casualties, with more than 80 million estimated losses.
The activities of the Arab Traffic Week, which comes at the beginning of May of each year, included many campaigns and activities which were represented by field visits with the aim of urging drivers to abide by traffic laws and instructions and to notify society of the dangers resulting from not complying with traffic laws.
We handed out flyers and posters because we need to raise traffic awareness as the country struggles from this issue. So, we hope our message reaches the Yemeni citizen so they understand how we struggle with traffic violations.
drivers' commitment to safety rules to protect their lives and society is the goal of the Arab Traffic Week 2022 activities, which calls for an immediate social response in order to find safe and prosperous traffic.
أنصح جميع السائقين زملائي بالالتزام.
I advise all drivers to follow the traffic instructions to avoid any accidents and to help traffic officers do their jobs.
The Arab Traffic Week remains a national mission in light of the increase in traffic accidents in Taiz due to the long, rugged and worn-out roads linking the city with the rest of the governorates under the siege imposed on it.
Local residents in Sana'a are receiving Eid al-Fitr with high prices. They said that Houthi oppression, in addition to outrageous prices, made the Eid pass hardly on them. A number of residents stated that the high prices were not only limited to prices of basic commodities, but also included clothes and all Eid necessities. The fish sector achieved remarkable growth, with sales estimated at nearly $1 billion. The production amounted to about 237,000 tons, with an estimated value of 593 billion rials. The fish exports have also amounted to 147,000 tons, with a value of $372 million. The Central Bank of Yemen expected that inflation will decline by the end of the current year. According to International Monetary Fund data, the inflation declined to 22% compared to 45% at the end of 2021. The ongoing conflict has reduced the pace of development and devastated the economy. Millions of Yemenis have lost their jobs. Salaries haven't been paid for more than 5 years. The value of the rial is not stable. All these factors have made it hard for people to secure basic life commodities. The following report has more details.
The war in Yemen have caused tens of thousands of civilian casualties, and the conflict in Yemen that started in 2015 had already created economic hardships, making Yemen one of the largest humanitarian crises and relief operations in the world. The deterioration of the Yemeni economy was further worsened by the significant depreciation of the rial, which led to an increase in the prices of basic goods and services, including food, fuel, and health care. This combination of crises facing Yemen has led to an economic and living decline for the population in various governorates, without exception coinciding with the crazy rise in the prices of foodstuffs, flour, and vegetables. The economic and humanitarian crises have largely cast a shadow over the lives of the people, with a large segment of the population affected who lost their sources of income due to the interruption of interests, institutions, and companies in the public and private sectors. The conflict in Yemen has dramatically impacted the economic sector as well as Yemeni citizens, who have seen their income slashed heavily as more than a quarter of businesses have shut down and unemployment has skyrocketed to an estimated 55% of the labor force. With prices of food and other commodities rising and with important sectors of Yemen's economy, including agriculture and banking, being severely limited over the last few years, the conflict will keep destroying all aspects of life in Yemen, and people will continue to struggle, while the international community turns a blind eye.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. The U.S. Special Envoy Tim Linderking says that protecting the truce accomplishments is the real challenge for all parties. The Arab coalition has announced the release of first group of Houthi war prisoners as part of the truce implementation. For the first time in years, people in Hajj celebrate Eid al-Fitr away from Houthi militia, repressive machine. This is the end of the news. For more, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Yemen Today English. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.